Hello, dear students. This is Lohit Ramesh. In this session, I'm going to discuss about uh, the meaning of demand and determinants of demand. So, in the determinants of demand, there are two types of demand: individual demand determinants and market determinants. So, in this session, we'll come to know about the meaning. That means what exactly mean the demand is, and individually what are the determining factors which influences the individual to have demand for goods and services. So, this comes under the second chapter. Let's see the meaning. Let's understand the meaning of demand first. So, in ordinary language, we can say demand is a desire or a want or something. But in economic terms, we can see there will be a effective demand means that quantity that buyers is willing to purchase. So that means the consumer or the buyer must have willingness with desire to purchase any product or services at a given price and over a period of time. So whenever the time is allotted or within the at a given price, the consumer or the buyer must have a ability and he must have willingness and desire to buy the products and services. By combining all three these things, then only the demand will form under in economic terms. Means a buyer should have a strong desire to buy the goods and willingness to buy. So that means he should have yeah, he must have full interest to buy the goods along with the desire, and he must have ability to pay to have that particular product or to take that service on a given time at a given price. So it is called as demand. Let us see what are the determinants of demand that can affect individual to buy the products and services. The first determinant is the price of commodity. So here, whenever there is a changes in prices, the rarity of demand or the demand for a product or services is going to change always. Here, the quantity of demand for a product changes due to changes in prices. So here, whenever there is a high prices, the consumer may demand less to buy the product. Uh, or vice versa it will happens whenever there is a lower price, the consumer buy more and more products, so then the demand for product and services it's going to be increased. So here the price will have an impact on individual, so with high and low in its amount in the value. Then the next second important influencing factor of or determining factor of demand is income of consumer. So here the based on the income level of consumer, the spending habits or buying ability or the preferences for the goods and services, it's going to be changed. So if the consumer or the buyer have higher income, so he is going to buy the large quantity of products or with different quantity with high values. So whenever the consumer or the buyer have sufficient and higher income, so then if the income of consumer is high, demand for superior commodity also increases. So if superior commodities always have higher price and higher value, but even though they have a high price, they may have a good demand for them because the consumer's income is here high, and the demand for inferior goods it's going to be decreases. Inferior goods means the the goods don't have highest price, or they don't have the highest quality in their use also. Then the overall demand for a commodity decreases as the income of consumer falls. So if in case the income of consumer is going to be decreases, definitely he may not buy more number of products, or his preferences may not be extended or changed, because the within the available income uh, amount of money, the consumer is going to buy the product or services. So at that time, so the he is going to buy more inferior product than superior products, because his income may not permit to buy more number of superior products or according to his wish. Then the second the third major determining fact that influence or determine the individual demand is taste, preference, and habits. So here, if the consumer have a good taste, so he is going to buy the product regularly. And if consumer want he have a good preference, he is going to buy the product regularly and more number of products regularly. And if he has a habit of using them for a long time as a habit, then he is going to purchase more number of products. So the demand for product also depends on the consumer taste and preference and habits. So these will depends upon their culture and social standards of people. So they are going to celebrate many festivals, and they may have different customs, traditions, and with the passion towards consuming products and services also will create and set a standard for them to consume a particular type of goods. So, for example, they may wear classy clothes or costly clothes always. That's the habit. The consumers, they may not buy more than their uh, income. So all this become an preferences, and the consumers may use a particular brand, or they for that they are going to buy that particular brand uh, without considering the price values. So it will be an habit for them. So here, the advertisement, sales campaign, and awareness lead to changes in taste. Means they may not fully change, so there will be a partial influence will be there. So the preferences and habits may be changed only a little bit with the effect of advertisement. So here, advertisement and sales campaign create some awareness, but they may not create necessity. So when the consumer have a awareness and necessity, he is going to change more. He is going to buy more and more products. He may not consider the income as well as the price. Then the next determining fact of the individual demand is the people with different taste, habits, and different preferences. So here, the all buyers or consumers may not have same kind of taste and habits and preferences. The each individual buyer may have different things. For example, for that I have given one example here, that a strict vegetarian will have no demand for meat at any prices. So it means to any vegetarian, if you offer a meat at lower price, he may not buy. But as a non-vegetarian who is going to like chicken or non-veg, uh, uh, he may demand it even at the higher price, because he has a liking on it. So you do not bother about the price. Similarly, it will be happen in cigarette, for the product called cigarette, by non-smoker and smoker. So the tasting preferences and consuming different preferences and their habits of buying is different from one buyer to another buyer. So this is one of the another influencing factor of individual demand or determining factor of individual demand. Then the next major thing which determine or influence the individual demand is complementary and substitute products. So here, first we have to know what is complementary and what is substitute product. The complementary goods are those goods which are required to satisfy the other demand. So in order to fulfill one's demand, they have to buy that other product also. So for example, the bike and petrol. So these goods are consumed with together, means they may not be separated. So here, if the consumer want to buy a bike or the customer want to buy a bike, he has to buy the petrol also. So without petrol, you can't ride the bike. So they used jointly or togetherly. So petrol is a complementary for bike. Then substitute products. So substitute products are those products are goods which could be used as an alternative to the one product. So here, so if one product is not satisfied, equivalent to that product, the other another product will be there with a similar kind of features and price values. For example, so if consumer want to having a habit of consuming tea for a long time, even if during the non-availability of tea, he may go for coffee also. So a coffee is a substitute for tea. Like, so substitute products also which determine the demand for products. Then the next determining demand factor individually or to the individual buyers is consumers expectation. When the consumer expects that prices to fall in future, he will less he will buy less at present. Why? Because so he is going to know that he may get enough, or he is having a confirmation that the availability of goods uh, at lower price in future also. For that, he don't require a huge number of goods, or you need not to maintain stock of goods. Then he is going to buy less at present. Similarly, if we expect the price to rise in the future, he will buy more. So at present, if there is a low prices, and he will come to know that the price in the future it's going to be raised. So in the future, he may not have sufficient income, or at that time there will be many things will take place. So with all precautions, he is going to buy more number of products, because in future he may not have that sufficient amount of income to buy his preferred product at high rate. So he may purchase the price whenever the price is low. So when he come to know advancedly about that, the price of product will increase in future. Then if consumer thinks that availability of goods, he will buy less. So, and if he thinks non-availability of goods, he buy more, because their goods may not available. So then he is going to have maximum number of products at present. If he know, or if he thinks that the availability of goods, he is going to buy less, because the availability means continuously he may use, or whenever he want or she want, he may or she may buy the goods when there is a continuous availability of products. Then the next major determining factor of individual demand is advertisement effect. So here in modern times, the preferences of consumers can be altered by advertisement. So earlier, the preferences of consumers was only about the usage, features, price. So many things were influencing. But in modern days, consumer preference also changed or altered with the advertisement by advertisement also, but not a fully, but up to a certain extent only. Means partially he may like the products, he may come to know the products with advertisement, because advertisement is going to educate the customers or people towards usage, price, pattern of products. So the demand for many products is partially caused by advertisement effect in modern man life. So advertisement may not give sufficient information, 100% information. It will not fulfill the 100% requirements of consumers who want to buy the product or services. So advertisement effect partly can affect the preferences buying habits of an individual. So here, after knowing all these determining factors which will affect the demand of an individual, we will come to know that the demand of individual affected with the change in his things, in the following things. So if income changes, the demand of individuals is going to be affected. If the status of the individual changes, then also the demand for goods and services of an individual it's going to be changed, and the taste and preferences may be altered and changed from time to time, depending on how he is going to respond to the changed product or situations, or with the technology or use of products. Then the necessity. So if the consumer feels it's necessary, then only he is going to buy the products. Otherwise, they may not buy. So here, depending on the necessity of individual, the demand of goods and services may be changed. Then the impact of advertisement, it will affect the consumer partially, not fully. So with this, I conclude my session. Thank you.